Well, we're now going to shift and we're going to think a little bit about material science. And in particular, something that will change your life if in fact you lose a limb. And for this, I'm going to put you over to Paul Jamieson, who works for a company called Össur. And they're the people who make those amazing running blades. Paul.
Thank you. Right, that's me. And this is what we make. Don't get tangled up in the wires. You like to? It's not that sinister. Do you want to have a closer look? These are the flex foot cheetahs. Yes, safety warning on the spikes. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, flex foot cheetah as worn by Oscar Pistorius. We're not talking bionics here. We're talking material science, as Andrea said, and the material is carbon fiber. We're using a carbon composite as a spring to store the athlete's own energy and then to redirect it during gait to maximize his performance. So you can see the curved shape there. On impact, as he lands from one step, it's going to bend the spring, store a load of energy in that spring, and then as he rolls over ready to leave the ground, the foot's going to be ready to push him off. The result of that is that Oscar is, well, as they call him, the fastest man on no legs, or the Blade Runner. He's as good as you can get as an amputee athlete, and he's really only about 10% slower than Usain Bolt, which is a fair old achievement and a tribute to his fitness. We're talking about carbon fiber there as the material, and it is a very efficient spring. It's very light, and it's made up of a load of fabrics with fibers in different directions. So using that versatility, we can make the spring do pretty well anything that we want. Now, amputations, of course, happen for all sorts of reasons, and you've seen the hacksaw already. Accidents are an obvious one. Number of diseases, diabetes is an indicator for amputation. Also injuries through war, conflicts, malformations at birth, cancer, and so on. There's about 60,000 amputees in the UK, and another 5,000 join every year, although many of those are older people whose life expectancy is not great. Of course, the younger people will generally live a full lifespan. Now, wearing an artificial limb can be hard work. For instance, a below-knee amputation, somewhere around there, costs you 50% more effort to walk than you would normally. If you want to get a feeling for that, you could just try tucking one foot under your chair and standing up using just one leg, no hands. If you want to try that, you'll get a sense of how much extra effort that is. So anyway, it is that much harder work just for everyday activities like walking, so you can imagine how hard it might be for sport. Give you a little bit of background here. This picture over on the left-hand side is the most worn-out prosthesis that I've ever seen. This came from a guy in Africa, and he was still using that. I mean, we got a picture because he was about to get a new one, but he still found that useful. So you can imagine, if that's useful, how important a prosthesis is for somebody to just get about and do whatever they need to do in life. In the middle there, you can see a couple of more conventional limbs from the 50s, 60s. At their time, they were pretty cutting edge. They were using the materials that were used in aeroplanes at the time. So originally, when aeroplanes were made of cloth and wood, prostheses were made that way. Then when sheet aluminium came along, we made the limbs that way. And nowadays, as you see with the feet that I've got over there on the right-hand side, our feet are carbon fiber. There's an awful lot of carbon fiber used in our industry, and 80% of the parts of a Dreamliner are carbon fiber as well. So we're staying right up with the technologies there. So let's just have a look at how we actually make these foot parts. This is an autoclave, and it's about to bake some carbon fiber on those molds that you see going in there. They're all shaped and they've got loads of layers of carbon built up to make a shape like that, which has now been cooked and pressurized. It comes into this special room to be shaped, and what we're going to do is cut that slab into 8 separate feet. And the computer will drive a cutter which uses a water jet loaded with little abrasive particles, and they can cut through carbon fiber. You've already felt it's quite a hard material. It's very abrasive as well. This is about the only way you can do it. This is very, very accurate, and the end result is almost a finished product that we can take through and assemble and make into a foot for somebody. Now you can see the pattern that we've cut out, including the holes there, and it just needs this nice robot to snap each one out from the net, rub off any little spiky bits that are left, and pop it in the box with its brothers and sisters, and it'll go off and be assembled to make a foot. Now over on the jig on the far side you can see a cheetah foot like the ones we've passed around. What we're doing here is just checking the category. By using different numbers of layers and different orientations of fibres, we can get a very precise stiffness for each one. So we're all different, and each athlete wants a different stiffness of foot to suit what they're going to do. There's the leg with a nice neat amputation. We put a silicone sleeve over it with some little rubber rings to help seal it into the socket. We test that fit out using a clear socket, and we can see how those little lips seal against it, holding him in by vacuum. We'll then go and make a proper socket like the one you've got passed around there, and we're ready to go. So there's, I think, I've forgotten the number now, I think it was 11 athletes in total who made it onto the podium at the last Paralympics in Beijing, and we're looking for a whole load more when the Olympics is here in London. So I'd be really grateful if you vote for me or vote for the cheetah, but either way, with the opportunity to see these guys in action in London, you must go and see the Paralympics. Thanks for your time.
I mean, we've got one of the most advanced kind of aerospace materials, known. We've seen actually how it's fabricated, that wonderful kind of robotic cutting process and so on, which is designed to really make it possible. I mean, can you imagine as a child having to have both of your legs amputated? Could you possibly imagine being able to compete in the Olympics? And here we've got some clever material science that goes hand in hand with physics and engineering to really transform somebody's life.